Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I am glad to see you again on my second video, and if you're new, check out my first video about the worst towns in the US. So last time we talked about the worst towns in America. Now we can see the most corrupt cities from here. So let's get to the video. Orlando, Florida. Orlando, with a population of 309,154, witnessed a total of 774 corruption convictions within the judicial district from 1976 to 2020. Like some other cities on this list, Orlando's corruption conviction count has consistently remained high over this period. For example, the city experienced 179 corruption convictions between 1990 and 1999, and this number increased to 230 between 2000 and 2009. This number did decrease slightly between 2010 and 2019 at 203, but remains higher than it did during the 90s. While we can't know the rationale behind this increase for sure, it's worth noting that Orlando was ranked pretty subpar on a recent list of best and worst run cities in America. Orlando came out 93 out of 149 cities overall. Houston, Texas. Between 1976 and 2020, Houston saw a total of 843 corruption convictions for a city with a current population of about 2.3 million. That's not that high, but it is worth noting. This number has increased in recent years, although that also correlates with an increase in its population. While there are too many corruption to go into detail on here, one of the most recent took place in the mayor's office for the member of Mayor Sylvester Turner's executive team pleading guilty to bribery charges. Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn had a total of 890 corruption convictions between 1976 and 2020. But fortunately, the numbers are decreasing. Like in Houston, Brooklyn's most cases of corruption have to do with bribery. Cleveland, Ohio. This city, which has a population of nearly 368.0, saw a total of 1017 corruption convictions between 1976 and 2020. Unlike some of the other places on our list, this number has gone up and down over the course of these decades, making it a little unclear as to what the longer-term trends are for the city. Cleveland is ranked 4th worst-run city in the U.S. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Between 1076 and 2020, Philadelphia saw a total of 1068 corruption convictions. The number of convictions per decade is pretty consistent. Although it is worth noting that Philadelphia's population, which is currently about 1.6 million, has also increased over that time, so the number of convictions per capita may have actually gone down. Philly's police department has a long history of corruption. Richmond, Virginia. Richmond has a population of 226,600. This city has seen a total of 1122 corruption convictions between 1976 and 2020. In recent decades, this number has only been increasing. Like the other cities on this list, the charges and convictions vary, but many of them have been related to bribery and fraud. Newark, New Jersey. With a population around 307.0, Newark is another city on our list with one of the highest per capita counts of corruption. Specifically, Newark saw 1184 corruption convictions between 1976 and 2020. Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., or the District of Columbia, saw a total of 1210 corruption convictions between 1976 and 2020. For context, the population of Washington, D.C. is a little less than 713.0. One of the most recent cases involved a former police union vice chairman who pleaded guilty to felony fraud and attendance fraud. Most of the other convictions seen by the nation's capital also involve fraud, and to a large extent, bribery. Miami, Florida. Miami has a population of 440.0. This city saw a total of 1257 corruption convictions between 1976 and 2020. Given its smaller population relative to the other cities on this list, Miami joins cities like Orlando, Richmond, and in having a higher percentage of corruption. Miami is not that bad though, because it's ranked pretty mid-tier on the list of best and worst run cities. Los Angeles, California. With 1611 corruption convictions between 1976 and 2020, Los Angeles has the second highest number of our list, however, Given that it also has the largest population out of the other cities here at over 3.8 million, it's not the highest number per capita. Many of these corruption convictions involve bribery, plus everybody knows about the dirty cops from Los Angeles. Chicago, Illinois. The number one on this list is Chicago, which saw 1792 corruption convictions between 1976 and 2020. For context, Chicago's current population is around 2.7 million. Unfortunately, it's not just recently that Chicago has been considered the most corrupt city in America. This is the third year in a row that the city has received this nomination, and to make matters worse, Illinois was ranked the third most corrupt state in the US with the third most corruption convictions per capita. Chicago seems to be surrounded by corruption. The most cases of corruption in Chicago can be found in government. So that's it, guys. This was the video for today on the most corrupt cities in America. See you in the next video. Don't forget to give a thumbs up and a subscribe to this channel.